It's Wednesday, and it's time for the Contrarians live chat. The topic tonight, crash, bang, wallop. We're talking album covers, cartoon album covers. We want to hear from you in the chat. Let's get started. Contrarians. Hey, tonight we are talking cartoon album covers. We're always talking some kind of album covers, but tonight we have Todd Evans, Martin, and Jamie Laszlo here. And like I said, we want to hear from you in the chat. So we are talking album covers, but cartoons. So, gentlemen, how are you tonight? Nice to see everybody. How's everything going?
Absolutely. Well, looking forward to this.
All right. So everybody knows the concept. The people in the chat are ready. We want to hear from you. Let's just do this. Let's just go. We'll start off. We'll go Todd, Jamie, Martin, and myself, and we'll just loop around and keep going. And we will hit the chat. All right. Todd Evans. Nice to see you. How are you?
Thanks. Good to be here. How many are we doing each round?
Let's just do
let's go 3.
Let's do 3.
Yeah, 3, and then the grand finale 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That works. All right. So my number 1 is, of course, ABC, How to Be a Zillionaire. You see the guys there, and then on the back, you've got the cartoon band and this zany thing in the middle with them all. Oh, no, they're falling. But anyway, this is from 1985, a very fun record.
What kind of music is that, Todd?
Well, ABC, their first album was produced by Trevor Horn, and it was, kind of, how would you describe it, Grant? Kind of like
well, it's
like
one big hit.
Well, it depends on which album we're talking about.
Yeah,
so if we're talking about how
kind
to
of
be a
new wave,
there, it's a lot more.
Yeah, kind of sophisticated pop. Some people call it. The second album, Beauty Stab, was a little bit more streamlined and guitar oriented, kind of like Roxy Music. And then the third album was more cartoony. It was more electronic and a little bit wacky. So it fits the theme really well.
All right.
My next one is Moron Police, A Boat on the Sea. This is a Swedish prog band. And I'm pretty sure I have that right. Sweden or Norway? Somebody can correct me. But this is a very cool album, and it's got the back cover is kind of crazy. I wasn't sure about this at first because, if something is art, does it mean it looks kind of like a cartoon? Does it mean it looks like a cartoon? But I think it does. I think it looks like a 3D kind of cartoon, and it's if you haven't heard this album, it's really spectacular. It's just crazy prog rock, really fun, just really like lots of changes, and really good stuff.
It reminds me of that Gorillaz album cover.
Yeah, kind of does. And then, of course, had to pick this one here. I've heard so many people say they don't like this cover. I really like this cover. I think it's really good. The back. There's a bunch of crazy pictures on the back. What's on the inside? Oh, lots of stuff.
Yeah.
I think this cover is really good. I like it. And I think it was a big improvement over what, came before it. And I felt like it had, I was accustomed to Queen albums kind of having themes and, a particular look. And I think this one definitely has that.
Nice.
I think it's a good cover. It's too bad the album's not very good.
Yeah, the album is pretty good.
The album is good, and it's just inconsistent. It's
Yeah.
great and then not great.
well,
Yeah.
well, you know.
All right, let's before we move over to Jamie, let's see what we've got mentioned here. I saw a few going on. We've got Rock and Roll Over Kiss. I don't think anybody's picked that one. Green Jelly Serial Killer soundtrack. I was almost going to pick that one. I don't think anybody's got that, but good call. Coming to the Gate, Foghat Boogie Motel. Yeah, that's a good one. Good comic album cover there. Let's see, Angry Samoans, The 90s Suck and So Do You. Janis Joplin, Cheap Thrills. I think we're going to see that a little later. Man Who Sold the World. Yeah, Who by Numbers. I guess it's kind of that as well.
Yeah,
A lot of those ended up with the number line thing filled in. What are those things called again? Montrose Warner Brothers Presents. Yeah, it's more of a movie poster cover for that one. Black Crow, Shake Your Money Maker. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's that.
Almost
fits.
wore that shirt.
Yeah. Police are superb. Groundhogs Who Will Save the World definitely fits. You know, I think that's even got a white background and stuff. Blood Rock USA totally fits as well. I don't think anybody picked that. So
no.
But we shall see. Let's turn it over to Jamie.
All right. The first one I'm going with is Frank Zappa and the Mothers, The Grand Wazoo, which is a really cool album cover. You got these groups of people meeting in the street like they're going to fight. And these guys brought Frank Zappa music with them, and they're playing it very loudly. And these other guys are going, "Oh, we hate that weird kind of music. Those Carpenters, very metal." No.
Oh my God.
That's very cool. I also got the CD. You know, at times I think that's my favorite Zappa album. At times.
Could be.
Then I'm going with the next two are kind of linked in a way. I'm going with Dookie with Green Day.
Yeah.
You know, I don't listen to a lot of Green Day these days, but when this album came out, my buddy and I, they were coming to a very small club in Pittsburgh, and we tried to get tickets, and it was sold out, very small club. And like a week later, they exploded into the Green Day that we know. So it would have been cool to have that feather in my concert cap of seeing them on this tour in a place with 800 other people. This tour, though, I did make. Whew. David Bowie, Reality, which is kind of like a Japanese animation almost type of thing on there. I did see this tour, thank goodness, because it was the last time he came through this area. It was here in Ohio, Columbus. And I will say, I saw him at a pretty small place. And a few years ago, a David Bowie tribute band came to Dayton and played a place bigger than where I saw Bowie in 2003.
Wow,
Crazy.
that's crazy.
Isn't it? It's crazy. So
Here's a fun fact. Green Day actually just played the Grey Cup, which is Canada's not so Super Bowl, you know, like the CFL, the league, the Canadian Football League, right? You know, the Grey Cup is the end of it, right? And Green Day played in Hamilton, Ontario, believe it or not.
Oh,
Pretty
wow.
weird.
Okay. Cool.
All right. So my first pick is one that the first one that comes to mind anytime this sort of idea comes up, because it's The Bears, an amazing, amazing record. Absolute classic. Mort Drucker from Mad Magazine did that, right?
Oh,
So there you got the guys all looking. Didn't we sadly just lose one of these guys?
Chris Arducer.
You see one of the guys on this?
He's the drummer on all the way to the right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so this great comic cartoon cover art there. And my second choice is Thin Lizzy, Vagabonds of the Western World. So the legendary Jim Fitzpatrick did this, right? And you've got the old style Thin Lizzy logo, but total, superhero sci-fi cover art, kind of abstract on the back. And I just pulled these out for kicks. This was the next album. He did that as well, with the Black Panther, kind of representative of the Black Panthers, Phil Lynott in there, that whole situation. And this is the first time we get the Thin Lizzy, the modern logo. And that's even in sort of a cartoon style. And I thought, just for kicks, have this out as well with Jailbreak. That's a very cartoon cover art that he did. He's also famed for doing the Che Guevara, treatment of that photo kind of thing. That was one of his big, heavy claim to fame. He's a great guy, though. Interviewed him. He's on Facebook. He's answering questions with Monty Connor all the time, like on figuring out cover art, and he's very he's got a site that has all sorts of cool alternate stuff that Thin Lizzy used. And my last one, or last of the first three, is my is The Damned Grave Disorder. Love this album. This is for the short-lived Nitro Records. One of the, I guess it's the Offspring guy, had this label, and then it kind of crashed in flames. But there's classic, good horror sort of 50s pastiche, The Damned in their 50s and 60s vibes, right? A little bit of a Cramps look to that maybe as well. But yeah, great album cover there. This is a digipack too. It has a nice booklet, and it's actually got even foil stamping on the CD sleeve. So they did a really nice job of this. Great album as well. So that's my first three. Let's see if anybody's brought anything. David Pawlowski has mentioned, loves that Damned album. ZZ Top Mescalero. More on that later. Is that one of my picks, or is that one of my? Actually, no. It's not. Sort of. You'll see. I had it as a honorable mention when I mentioned the other ZZ Top one. We've got Tubes now. We got the First Fred Hot Chili Peppers. Yeah, more like abstract art, I suppose. That one. Let's see. Glenn and Adrian's Rock Talk. Little Girl in Bloom. Yeah, great track there from Thin Lizzy. Melvin's Houdini. Let's see, Vagabonds, I think is one of their very best albums. Rock and Roll Over, Destroyer, and Love Gun were the Chris trifecta. Yeah, they're all kind of comic book art, I suppose, right? For whatever reason, I've listened to Vagabonds 3 times in the last 2 days, says Glenn and Adrian's Rock Talk. Rage Against the Machine, Evil Empire. We got Electric Wizard, Dope Throne. Loudness, Biosphere. All right, take it away, Grant.
All right, here we go. All right, so my first one is an obvious choice, for God's sakes. I could have went with a lot of different things to start out with, but when I think cartoon album covers, I think of this one. And there's the Beatles, Yellow Submarine, 1969. It's a cartoon of a cartoon, for crying out loud. So it's classic. And of course, I start out with the Beatles. It all comes back to the Beatles and Cheap Trick, for God's sakes. My number 2.
The Beatles or the Monkees?
Well, we're going to get to the Monkees too tonight, because it all comes back to the Monkees as well. Number 2 is an iconic album cover that kind of stems back to that whole Steamboat Willie era. I think it was pretty much, that's what was inspired, that whole thing was the Flaming Groovies.
Oh, nice.
Super Snaz from 1969.
Yeah.
Of course, this album I don't think did anything back in the day. We look back on it now and think it's a great record. The Flaming Groovies kind of morph into something else, much more into a power pop type of thing. But this great album cover. But you think about it. Wow.
Do they start off sort of rock and roll revival?
Yeah, they're like a rock and roll revival kind of thing. And that's what this basically is. But you look at this and you go, wow, 1969. Well, this isn't very hippie-ish or anything. Of course it flopped, but that's all right. We like it anyway. My other one that I'm going to go with is the second Weezer album, Pinkerton. And this was an album that came out at the time. It got totally bad reviews. It's kind of like much more of an Oriental type of feel here. How do I want to describe it? It's kind of it's cartoony, but I don't know. This is one of those Weezer albums that after time, people looked at this record and think it's like one of their best works. I dig the record quite a bit. I think it's right up there with the Blue album, but the
hooks weren't as instant when you heard them, like the Blue album.
It's a little bit more, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly how I'd want to describe it.
I don't want to say mature, but that's the word coming to mind.
It's much more, you know what? It's the second record, but it is a bit more mature. Later they started writing songs about bong pipes. So on this record, there are no bong pipe references on it. So it is a bit more mature. So that's my top 3. Well, I don't know if they're my top 3, ladies and gentlemen, but they're my 3 so far.
Yeah. Just wanted to mention here before we move on, we've got Glenn and Adrian's Rock Talk mentioned most ELO covers. Grand Wazoo mentioned here again. There's a nice mention of Max Webster Live Magnetic Air, which is like an illustration. I guess it's comic-y. And of course, we know that, the inner sleeves and stuff, especially Universal Juveniles, has all those little doodles that are very comic-y. BOC Club Ninja, that's more like good illustration, I suppose.
Yeah.
Gary Moore Grinding Stone definitely feels comic booky, I'd say. Yeah, Max Webster, yeah, the Party Box set, Crumbsucker's first album, Queen News of the World. I've got my my Queen mug right there ready to go, but yeah, I'm not sure if anybody's mentioning News of the World today. BOC Agents of Fortune, not particularly a comic booky, just again good illustration, I suppose. I suppose that's kind of the difference here, right? I mean, comic books are more exaggerated. We all know it when we see it. I mean, but it's a grayscale towards illustration, I suppose. But all right, Todd, take it away.
Okay, for our next one, I'm going to talk about a band that probably a lot of people don't know about. This is the Shut Ups. They are an Athens power pop band. And the story behind the album is the guy, the vocalist and the keyboardist, his name is Don Condescending. That's not his real name. But this is a great band. He wears a smoking jacket. They're just awesome. But anyway, he responded to a call from one of the record labels for somebody to write songs from a female perspective because they had a young female artist that they wanted to get some good songs from. And he submitted a bunch of songs, and they got back to him and said, well, these are okay, but try harder. So he tried harder, and it turned up that he had so many songs, he decided to make an album with his band. And so what they did with this is they took the guys in the band, which are there, and then they put them through some kind of software and turned them into girls.
Wow.
So I think that's pretty creative. And then on the front cover, there they are. And then on the back, there's another pose with them. I think this is pretty creative. And my favorite song on this album is track 4, Kurt Cobain, He's the One. But very, very interesting, very fun album. The next one is, of course, They Might Be Giants. And you can see the little cartoon John and John on the back there. This was, I think this was really a great album for a debut album, because if you didn't know anything about them, when you saw this, you thought, okay, well, this is going to be different. And my next one is somebody's already mentioned it in the comments. XTC Oranges and Lemons. Again, it's an illustration, but it really looks like it could move and become a cartoon. It does to me anyway. But yeah, definitely a psychedelic flavored illustration.
Hey, Todd, I told you about that seeing They Might Be Giants back in the day. I think I saw them on John Henry tour at the Newport in Columbus. Incredible.
Yeah, I saw them in...
Well, that was the first time they had a whole band that went out with them.
Yeah, I saw them in Athens when this came out, and they were a duo.
Oh,
just
no
them,
way!
Just them and a tape machine and a sound guy. And it snowed, and there were like 7 people there, and it was absolutely amazing because everybody thought they were going to cancel it. So
yeah, when I saw them, there were a bit
great.
more than 7 people. But if you know They Might Be Giants, the fact that the type of music that they play, there were people going on stage and diving off the stage. It was incredible.
Yeah, they're from New Jersey, and so they were standing around outside the club, and the snow is coming down, and all the the roads are closed. And somebody said, "Are you guys going to play tonight?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure, why not?"
Yeah,
So
cool.
I love that. That is great.
Just wanted to mention here in the comments, we've got a lot of people mentioning things that are closer to illustration, I think, like Y&T and Rock We Trust, and a Journey Escape. But we do have the Guess Who, Greatest of the Guess Who. Definitely, I think fits that. Giant Dinosaur Jr. definitely feel pretty comic-y, right? With let's see what we got. Farming, I Bet on the Sky. What else I see here? Yeah, Love Hate Blackout in the Red Room. I was thinking of picking something like that, but again, that's more like abstract figurative art, by the guy in the band. Tarkus, I think, is closer to illustration as well. Pink Fairy's album, Never Neverland. Yeah, maybe, yeah. Kiss Unmasked, that's probably coming up a little later. American Graffiti soundtrack. All right, over to Jamie.
All right, this band I knew little about until I became part of this kind of community, Sea of Tranquility, Contrarians thing. In fact, I always thought Savoy Brown was the name of a person. I had no idea it was the name of a band. On top of that, I used to get Savoy Brown, the person, in my brain, the person, confused with Leo Sayer, who's the person. And this is a band.
Leo Sayer.
This head's a mess sometimes. So Yeah, this album's probably their best album, the best one I own, and I own like 5 now. Street Corner Talking, which is really good. And I got into them when I saw Pete Pardo interview Kim Simmons, the lead guitarist. R.I.P. died a couple years ago, but he seemed like a good guy. And then I started getting into the music. But this kind of drawing and art technique, it was only around in the 70s, and I keep trying to think of a word to describe it, but 70s is the only word I can come up with. It's like, I don't know.
Well, that's pretty Robert Crumb, but I don't know if that actually is
not
Robert.
Maybe everyone was copying off Robert Crumb.
I'd say,
what was going on in the 70s. Then I'm going to go with Miles Davis, On the Corner, which at a time was my favorite Miles Davis album. It's now top 5, but not my number 1 favorite. I read a review online one time, and it always stuck with me. It said that the music sounds like the cover because the music sounds like a busy street in the city where you hear the horns honking and the hustle and bustle of people walking by. Yeah. So the music kind of sounds like the album cover. And was that 2? I'm going to go with Grant's kind of band. I don't listen to a lot of, pop rock from the late 60s, early 70s. I don't. I might throw on some Grassroots every once in a while. And I might throw on the Young Rascals sometimes. This album, I'm not going to say this is a gritty album, but there is some soul in just enough something. I'm not going to say grit, but something to take away from the sugary pop of it. Plus, it has You Better Run on It, which we all know was covered by Pat Benatar. So there you go. There's my 3.
There you go.
Cool. Nice.
Super.
All right. My first choice is this band here. I won't show you the main album yet, but this was their big album, right? Dynamite Monster Boogie Concert. And an interesting thing is the band has this crazy history. This is 4 of their this is essentially unreleased albums. The band sent these to me. One of them is even produced by Brendan O'Brien, I believe, but they have this long history of making albums and the label rejecting them and telling them to do a whole new one and stuff. It's a crazy story, right? That's a whole show in itself. But they also sent me the Ass Master album, and that's basically your comic book art one. But the really cool thing about this, so there's the back, is that they actually did a whole comic book for it, right? So there's your Raging Slab comic book. So that's got to be the winner in terms of extremity here. Although, Alice Cooper did a comic book. There's a few other bands as well, right? But yeah, that's the comic book that goes with it. And so this band is kind of like cross between Government Mule, Black Label Society, Hammerlock, Nashville Pussy, Masters of Reality, maybe, right? Just like a heavy modern version of Foghat, I suppose. Love them to death. Very cool band, guys and gals, right? So yeah, there's your parallel to Nashville Pussy in there as well. But great band, and that album was a little bit of a minor hit, and I think
I've never even heard of them
or whenever it was.
But what is an Ass Master? I don't have any idea what's going on in this album cover at all.
Check this one out. This is the one that was quite a bit of a hit. What year is this? I think it's this one actually is Brendan O'Brien, and it is 1993. Okay. So if you like Foghat and wish Foghat was kind of a heavier band and a slightly heavier or heavier version of like Night Shift or Fool for the City, that's kind of that band. Pretty cool band.
Cool.
All right, my second choice is Warrant with Greatest and Latest. So that's that's the guys all piled into a car, and there's a lot of these car ones out there. So I thought that was pretty cool. This is one of them re-recording of the hits albums. And then this was right next to us, so I thought I'd take it out there. Born Again album, great album cover. But again, kind of good comic art illustration on that one. And then my third of this bank of 3 is I went with ZZ Top Antenna. So that's what that looks like, of course. And they are absolute comic book heroes, just as they are, the three guys in their cool wardrobes and stuff. So I actually took out Mescalero as well, which kind of again more good comic book stuff there. And they've got illustration, they've got great photography, of course, across their album covers as well. But DeGuayo is Tejas's illustration. DeGuayo's in between illustration and comic book art, I imagine. So those are my three. Let's see what anybody else has mentioned here. Yeah, Steve Poleri has brought up the Gorillas, and that was brought up. Foghat has a new album out. Yes, we know that. And Slade, Keep Your Hands Off My Power Supply. Kind of action comic-y, definitely there. Bugsy, Center of Attraction. Grace the Guess Who. Yeah, that was mentioned earlier. Ace Lane, See You in Heaven. Parliament, Motor Booty Affair. Deerhoof Milkman. Let's see. This channel is turned into Let's Talk About Album Covers. Only on Wednesday nights, though. That is our Wednesday at 7 thing. Let's see. Rick Springfield, Comic Book Heroes. Yeah, remember that one. And Miles in Concert, that is. I was kind of expecting Fat Albert to be on the corner. Yeah. Looks like you guys played Buck when you were kids? The whole Fat Albert game? That's the one where you all line up and one guy jumps on the back of the pile and then the pile gets bigger.
Yeah.
You try to knock the pile down by jumping on top really hard. We used to do that all the time. Yeah, that was a massive hit show, that show. All right. Over to Grant.
Cool. I just want to say Comic Book Crazy Marco is still around. So he's still here. But we do this on Wednesday nights. We're having a bit of fun. We want to have an interaction with the peanut gallery. It's no big deal. It's all lighthearted. We're having a good time. So yeah. Marco is still back and we still produce that same content. So,
and we don't want to do shows weekly where we got to do too much homework.
Right. We want to have some fun. So it's all
we
good.
do have 4 or 5 or 6 other concepts and none of them are about album covers.
So there you go. All right. So my number 4, I'm going to go with the band Gas Giants. So I don't know if anybody knows who Gas Giants were, but after the Gin Blossoms broke up, Robin Wilson and Philip, the drummer, got a band together called the Gas Giants. They put out one record from 1999. If you like the Gin Blossoms, you probably like this record, but
I will not like that record.
Well, I like it. So,
didn't they go back to them?
What?
Where'd I go?
I took you out because you made me upset.
Banished you.
I banished you, so you have to be careful, Jamie. So wait a minute. What were you saying,
love
Todd?
The Gin Blossoms.
What were you saying, Todd? You said
I was saying that they went back to the Gin Blossoms, didn't they?
They did, but this is like a one-off record.
Around. That's them, right?
I don't know. You're making me upset. All right. So anyway, we have this record, and it's got this, I don't know, young female pulling all this junk. It looks like something from the, I don't know, Apocalypse or something, but it's a cool album cover. Nobody knows this record. It's a good record. Check it out. Letting everybody know. That's why I picked it. So, if you can find it. It was on a blip on the screen. So my number 5 is Jefferson Airplane, After Bathing at Baxter's. I've mentioned this in the past, and it keeps popping up. But what does this look like? This artwork kind of looks like, I don't know. Martin's good with artwork. What does
what that looks like a little bit? It looks like the very, very early days of Andy Warhol. It's that late 50s, early 60s kind of artwork that we get in magazines and stuff, right?
But I dig this album cover. I like it, So that's my number. And then, of course, since everyone's
looks like Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah.
It does look like Schoolhouse Rock. All right, I'll keep you on here for a while, Jamie. I didn't mind that. All right, so everybody's already mentioned this, but Kiss Unmasked. How can you not mention Kiss Unmasked?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a cartoon strip, for God's sake.
Basically the gold standard.
The gold standard. Of course, they missed their opportunity because when they took off the makeup, Lick It Up should have been unmasked. But whatever. We're not going to nitpick here. I mean, they're winding up their tour. All right. So anyway, that is my number 6.
Cool. All right, Todd, you know what? Go ahead and do all your last 4.
All of them? Okay.
Just do
it. All
right.
Yeah. We can do that. Well, this is kind of an action cartoon. This is the 2022 album from Clutch, Sunrise on Slaughter Beach. And I absolutely loved it. I bought this album because I love the cover so much, and it was my first Clutch album, and now I love Clutch. So there you go. And then the inside of it is pretty crazy too. It's got this whole big
Wow, that's wild
thing happening. Yeah. So Clutch Sunrise on Slaughter Beach. This next one is a little bit, I guess it's kind of, this one sort of teeters right on the edge of, is it a cartoon or is it a illustration? It's probably more of an illustration, but any chance I have to talk about Haken, I'm going to take it. So this is Haken's 2023 album Fauna, and the whole theme is it's got there's tons of detail on there. There's the bird sitting on his hand, and then on the back that looks pretty cartoony, and then in the inside I think there's more too. Yeah, there you go.
I was listening to it just yesterday.
I like it.
Nice.
So yeah, very cool. And then of course this has already been mentioned in the comments, Queen News of the World.
Yeah.
The whole thing there with, and then there was the Family Guy thing where Stewie was quite worried that they had been injured or killed because they're bloody. and then Brian says, "Don't worry, the guys in Queen are fine." Well, most of them are fine. But yeah, great illustration. And you know what? I have to admit, it is pretty spooky, I think.
Well, I love that cover.
Yeah, me too.
Cover. Yeah.
And then my last one is Joe Jackson, Big World. And you got little cartoon Joe there. I used to, when I was, back when this album came out, I went to the concert, and I had a t-shirt that was just a white t-shirt with that illustration in black of Joe running through the airport or whatever he's doing. And it was my favorite t-shirt. I just totally wore it out.
Cool.
But Joe Jackson, Big World.
Well, you remember when that album came out, everybody was raving about it because
Yeah.
it was digital and it was straight to
It was
straight to tape, right?
It was 2 channels straight to tape. It was recorded in a theater, and they told everybody to be quiet between the songs.
And no one was really doing it that at the time.
No,
And I remember
it was
everybody
pretty
going, "Ooh, it's very cool."
Yeah.
But, anyway, no one cares now, but
Excellent.
Except me.
except me. I care. I brought it up for God's sakes. All right. So Todd, so Jamie, you're up. Unless we want to do some comments, Martin.
I think I'm up next, or did you mix up? Move it.
Well, I deleted
anyways, I'll mention
Jamie.
comments here. We got Merciful Fate, Nuns Have No Fun. We've got TNT, Realized Fantasies. Yeah, some of these are coming in more closer to illustration. Grateful Dead, Live Europe. Minutemen, What Makes a Man Start Fires. I was going to pull that one up, but I couldn't find it, so I don't think I have it anymore. Big Brother, I think, is coming up with Robert Crumb. He's iconic in this. Flash in the Pan. Ayla, the best of Flash in the Pan. Doggy Style. Let's see. Rocky, and also looks like ZZ Top antenna covers. This World Apart's from BOC's Agent's Fortune. Looks like okay, there we go. Over to Jamie.
All right, let's get it out of the way since everyone's talking about it. Big Brother and Holding Company, Chief Thrills with Robert Crumb all over the place.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why I kind of like doing these shows, because I find these album covers, I bust them out, and then I listen to these albums like for the first time in years and years and years. Like I put this on, I'm like, my God, I haven't listened to this in who knows, over a decade probably. I will say, if you haven't seen the Crumb documentary from 1994, you've got to check that out about the artist. It's been 30 years since I've seen it, but I remember Robert Crumb being a character, and I remember one of his brothers being real crazy, like still living with his mom crazy type thing.
Yeah.
So check that stuff out. And then I'm going to go with another band someone brought up, but you could pick almost all these album covers from Dinosaur Jr. I'm picking the only one I own without a sound. This is a hardcore album. What do I mean by that? You have hardcore like punk. You have hardcore country that's extra twangy. Hardcore death metal that's extra intense. This is hardcore 90s. Every 90s trope is to the extreme on this album. If you're one of those guys that go, oh, I hate what was going on with music in the 90s, you're going to hate this album. I mean, the lead singer, guitarist, Jay Mascis,
Yeah.
He sings like people are saying, oh, his music's so depressing in the 90s. He sings like he was just kidnapped, tied up, and gagged, and they just took the sock out of his mouth and said, sing, bitch. Yeah. That's what he sounds like.
Yeah.
So if you're not into 90s music, you're not. It's almost too 90s for me.
Well, all that Dinosaur Jr. stuff all sounds the same, pretty much. It's not like they morphed into something.
That flow.
Yeah.
They got a cult following. They still have a following. People love them. So I'm going with the Kinks, Schoolboys in Disgrace, which you got the Schoolboy there. You know, this was during the Kinks' little rock opera phase there in the early 70s to mid 70s. I like this album. Out of all the albums that kind of had that rock opera feel to it, this is one of the better ones, I believe.
Yep.
I don't even know really what the story's about, but who cares? I like the music. And you can tell by looking at it. Oh, a couple of those songs are going to have a 50s feel, 50s rock and roll feel to it. Yeah, they do, but they're good. And my last one, I'm on my last one already? Wow. Joe Satriani.
Oh, there we go.
Basically a cartoon character. He had his own cartoon show, The Silver Surfer. This is what I got it on cassette. This is what I don't like about this album title, though. It says surfing with the alien, as if we're going to pretend that's not the Silver Surfer, just your random alien. It's like putting the Lone Ranger on there and saying riding with the cowboy. No, it's just not a cowboy. It's the Lone freaking Ranger. And that's just not an alien. It's the Silver freaking Surfer. So why are we pretending it's not and just saying alien?
Yeah.
Always bothered me.
Absolutely, yeah.
Copyright can't say it's the.
But you could put his image on there.
Yeah.
Maybe it's different just enough.
Well, you can't. Didn't he have to change it?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe he did.
Well, and Pink Floyd almost used that for an album cover, but then the legalities knocked it out.
Well, they hid Doctor Strange in not Saucerful Secrets, the one before Dark Side.
Oh, you're talking
after Metal and before Dark Side.
Obscured by
Clouds.
Yes, they hid Doctor Strange in that cover.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, very cool. Let's see. Tim Saunders has mentioned Gamma Ray, Sigh No More. We've got D Rocker with Triumph, Just a Game. That's actually a really good one. That's a true sort of, it's illustration, but it's a game, right? So it's very comic-y. Ramones' Road to Ruin is iconic. It's perfect. Jay Mascis is God, says John McCrae. Yeah, I love Dinosaur Jr. They're very it's almost like a 90s version of Russ Never Sleeps kind of thing, right? The big noisy Neil Young stuff. Halloween Live in the UK. Crumb's brother was very talented, but not society functionally. A shame. Yeah, he was also an illustrator. Sepultura, Dante, 21, Skin Alley, 2 Quid. Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, that's definitely comic book cover art. Butthole Surfers. Yeah, Electric Larryland. That was a bit of a hit album for them, right? Zappa Man from Utopia. That's a good album, comic-y, cartoony one as well. Very good. Man of War, Hail to England. Yeah, that's leaning that way, right? It's got the thick lines, right? The thick key lines and stuff that makes it comic-y. Lynyrd Skynyrd 1991 feels a little comic-y for sure. Winger 4, Riot, Privilege of Power. All right. So my last few here. Let's kick off with Gillen, Future Shock. So that's that one. Them looking like superheroes with their big spaceship. And then, of course, so the back is the same kind of thing. This is more like that big pop artist from New York that did the the sort of glamour girls thing in the sort of airbrushed feel. And then the inside, of course, has some more illustrations in this. It's a whole booklet that came with it. Let's see, what do we got here? And then the guys are all dressed up in these cool sort of scenario look things. But yeah, that's definitely a comic-y one. And then we've got Korn, Follow the Leader. So there you go. Got to meet these guys once down at the docks when they did a show. It's kind of cool. Did an in-person interview with those guys. And let's see what else we got. We've got X, Under the Big Black Sun. There you go there. It's kind of a key line thing. And this is not Raymond Pettibone. It's where's the guy here? Alfred Harris. But it looks like Raymond, who did Black Flag and Minutemen and all that, the Sonic Youth, right? So that's very cartoony and comic-y. And then he started doing all those kind of Japanese surfing wave artwork things. That's kind of what he moved into. And then I've just got kind of a random band. I remember these guys, kind of just good old rootsy rock and roll speedball, do unto others. So yeah, they were, I think might even be from Detroit. I can't remember, but yeah, just, you know, talk about getting bands mixed up, you know, remember, is it REO Speed Dealer or just Speed Dealer or REO something else? But Speedball. And I remember getting, as a kid, George Thorogood and Pat Travers mixed up because they kind of looked the same, right? And they were both kind of hard rocking solo guitar guys. And remember all the Jesus bands and then all the King bands and then Super Chunk and Super Suckers.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, we do a whole show on that one day. But I had a couple honorable mentions. We've got the Aerosmith by Al Hirschfield, of course, and pulled out another clutch one. We've got Blast Tyrant, and then Lizards. Awesome band, kind of a super group sort of situation, I guess. Randy Pratt runs this band and does an amazing job. Great bassist. And then I had Black Sabbath Forbidden Out, which is definitely very comic-y with the comic versions of the guys on the
you
back.
could say Dehumanizer.
Yep, definitely as well, for sure. All right, take it away, Grant. Close us out.
Grant, real quick, so I don't get
Yes,
yelled
sir.
at.
No, go ahead.
Doctor Full of Secrets has Doctor Strange hidden right here.
Oh, okay.
That's
All
right.
right.
All right. That.
Yeah, but on the other record, there is somebody like running naked in the, I don't know what it is. You know what I'm talking about. It's weird. It could have been Doctor Strange. God only knows. All right, everybody. So my number 7, I'm going to go with, and I thought somebody would have picked this, but no one did. I'm going to go with AC/DC Fly on the Wall. Definitely. I mean, I look at this album cover and to me it says, "Hey, don't buy me for God's sake." You know, you're used to these AC/DC albums, and this just doesn't seem like an obvious. I don't know what they were doing.
I kind of like it.
You like it? All right.
They had that fly in one of their videos too for the album.
But you know what? You know what that fly reminds me of? You remember those illustrations back in the late 60s of like hot rods and stuff? Oh, I can't remember what they were called. Oh, there was a whole, and those surfing.
And I used to buy those illustrated van magazines and those car magazines, right? I think one of them was what was it just called Hot Rods? There was an amazing couple of car magazines like that. With illustrations.
For some reason, that fly on there just kind of reminds me of that whole stylized drawing. I don't know. I like it. The cover's fine. But for AC/DC, I'm looking at it going, really? We trying to sell records? I don't know. Now, this one I chose because Todd Evans and I briefly talked about this. So I'm bringing it up. The Meat Puppets, right? And Todd, a lot of those Meat Puppets albums, they had a lot of illustrations on all of them.
Yeah.
So I picked No Joke for no particular reason. I think I don't know if it's particularly good. It almost looks kind of, I don't know. I guess it's okay, but it is cartoony. Right. It does fit the topic. Now, Jamie brought up the Monkees, and I'll be damned, Jamie. I'm bringing up the Monkees. So I'm going
back to the Monkees.
It always does. Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones. The illustration on there. I think that, of course, this is the greatest Monkees album ever. This is probably there you go, Todd Evans, backing me up. And I also think this is probably one of the best album covers that they had too. I love everything about it.
I've never heard a Monkees song that wasn't a hit. I don't know one deep cut.
Oh, really? This would be a great place to start.
This is the best record. All right. And then since we're in 1967, I'm going to go with the Beach Boys' Smile. This was put together by Frank Holmes. In fact, if you could see the other end of my room, I've got this same album cover signed by Frank Holmes. But he did this. He did all the artwork for it. Now, of course, this didn't come out in 1967, but it was all mocked up. It was ready to go. And then this finally got the re-release, and they put it together as much as they could, which it's still phenomenal. But yeah, Frank Holmes did all this, and he did all the illustrations in the booklet. It's really great. So that would be my number 10, ladies and gentlemen.
Nice.
That's it.
Good job. Good job.
One
Just
honorable
wanted to
mention.
check here. We've got a mention.
Oh
for-
yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was a good one. I thought of that one too. Yeah, definitely. We've got a mention here for Rush's first album, which I thought was kind of an interesting choice. It definitely feels that way. Show of Hands as well. Captain
A
Beyond
little
Dawn
bit more
Explosion.
abstract.
Yeah. It's a little more illustration-y. It's
Yeah.
a little more upscale, right? Captain Beyond Dawn Explosion, I think, is closer to illustration, as is Sufficiently Breathless. SF Sorrow, yeah, again, more
Yeah.
illustration, I imagine. Rapture, The Deep Purple, Half Japanese Loud, yeah, Traffic Shootout, Fantasy Factory. So yeah, just push play. Nah, it's closer to illustration, I suppose. Yeah, Big Daddy Ed Roth's Rat Fink cartoon. Yeah, cartoons.
That's what it
was.
is.
Yeah, that was
That's
awesome.
what I'm thinking.
That was
That's
so
what I'm
cool.
thinking.
Yeah,
Yes. Thank you
Agony
for that.
column way back in the woods. Yeah, definitely. I could see that. Little Feet had a lot of, again, that's more proper art, really. And
With
so is
bright
Trick of the
colors.
Tail, I imagine, right? Descendants, Milo. Yeah, Milo totally fits, right? This whole concept, Voodoo Glow Skulls fits. Yeah, very cool. Funkadelic, Budgie Power Supply, yeah, it could fit as well. So Jethro Tull, Too Old to Rock and Roll, yeah, definitely looks like a cartoon version of him. So there you go, Grant, wrap her up.
All right, well, I guess we're done, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks everybody for coming on to the chat. It's been fun. It's been loose. It's a night or an evening where we can just have fun and just talk amongst ourselves. So anyway, if you like to be on these panels, you could be on these panels. We have a Ko-fi, we have a Patreon account. You could join that and spend time with us. We have a lot of great stuff going on in the Patreon. We also have, like I said, we have a Ko-fi. Buy us a cup or a pint. We like donos. And there's one thing I keep forgetting is that we do have merch. So go down below in the down below the video and check out the merch page. Get yourself a shirt, get yourself a sweatshirt. Join the club, everyone. So like I said, thanks everybody for coming on. This was a lot of fun. And next week, God only knows what we're going to talk about, but stay tuned. There will be something. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, and the panel, Todd Evans, Martin, Jamie, thanks for coming on and doing this with us. We'll see you next week, everybody.